Innocent III, the Pope who looked like an emperor. The figure of the Pope, in general, has certain similar characteristics among his peers. They are authority figures. They have a wide base of followers. Their influence goes beyond religious matters, and many of them have a terrible habit of meddling everywhere, especially in political matters. These characteristics are surpassed by one Pope. We're talking about Innocent III, or Lothar of Segni. This Pope, far from being a man of peace and good shepherd of his flock, promoted an expansive policy. He dedicated his efforts to expand the territories of Christianity, supporting and encouraging the creation of different crusades in order to exterminate the pagans. Likewise, he dealt with the succession of Christian kingdoms. He was not only an observer of God's will, Innocent III was a creator of God's will more than anything else. Let's take a look at some of the history of this unique pontiff. Birth of an Italian. The young Lothar of Segni was born into an Italian noble family in 1161. In the town of Gavignano, near Rome. As a product of his belonging to an influential family, he dedicated his studies to the branches of theology and Roman canon law. This erudite journey he went through between the cities of Paris and Bologna. Due to his studies and his link with Pope Clement III, for practical purposes, his uncle, he obtained the recognition of high dignitaries of the church, being named cardinal at the age of 29. Habemus papam. With the Pope of Pope Celestine III, Lothar of Segni became Pope Innocent III in 1198. He was strongly supported by the College of Cardinals, who later saw their hopes for him fulfilled. He was a very energetic pope, barely 37 years old, which explains many of his actions as pontiff. The new pope not only stayed with the daily tasks of administering the faith and the Roman Curia, he also dedicated himself to extending it and making it more worthy of God's love. The Pope preached the theological teaching of contemptu mundi, according to which all Christian monarchs had to submit to papal authority, because he was the vicar of Christ on earth, therefore having spiritual and earthly authority. The Papal Crusades. The Pope's work was not limited to imparting the sacraments to his faithful or enacting reforms within the Church. Innocent III launched crusades against pagans and anyone who might pose a threat to the Church. In the framework of the Wars for the Holy Land, the Christians tried to regain the city of Jerusalem, taken by the Muslims in 1187. On this occasion, the Fourth Crusade took place and brought together different medieval states, such as the Kingdom of France, the Holy Roman Empire, and the Republic of Venice. The objective of this expedition was to disembark on the coast of Egypt and go up to the Holy Land. But the expedition ended up turning towards Constantinople, a city that was occupied and sacked by the Crusader forces. And so, the expedition did not get anywhere near Jerusalem. On the other hand, the Albigensian Crusade was less confused and disastrous than its Middle Eastern counterpart. The Cathar Crusade was a struggle against this heretical group in southern France, backed by the county of Toulouse. An alliance between Capet France and the Papal States succeeded in conquering the Languedoc territories and defeating the county of Toulouse. After the Crusade, the Cathars were brutally persecuted, and then the repression continued at the hands of the Inquisition. The maker of kings and emperors. Pope Innocent III, in addition to encouraging the creation of two crusades, also had time to intervene in the foreign policy of several Christian kingdoms. The Pope considered his authority as superior to that of other monarchies. Therefore, the Pope could ratify the election of a king. In the case of the Holy Roman Empire, with the death of Emperor Henry VI and the subsequent election of a new emperor, the Pope acted forcefully for the election of Otto of Brunswick, of the House of Welf, who was crowned as Otto IV. However, the Pope promptly regretted this choice and decided to support a new candidate. This time, his pupil Frederick II Hohenstaufen, who after a war against Otto IV was crowned as emperor. On the other hand, the Pope also quarrelled with several Christian monarchs, in which we highlight King John without land, brother of Lionheart, and the French King Philip II. With the English monarch, a conflict is established by the interest of this one in naming the new Archbishop of Canterbury. This situation arrived to such an extreme that the Pope threatened John with excommunication and the loss of religious rights for the Kingdom of England. In the end, John had to yield. In the French case, it was less problematic. King Philip II had been repudiating his wife, the Danish Isamba. This dispute was resolved with an agreement to fight the Cathars in the south, as well as an alliance against the Germanic Roman Empire. All these tactics made Pope Innocent III an important figure in foreign policy, his achievements demonstrating papal power in the face of other powers of the time. Rome and its borders. The power of the Pope was not only strong far from the borders of the Eternal City, Rome, but also expanded in the territories of Italy, where Innocent's policies expanded the frontiers of the Church. Innocent achieved the accession to Rome of the Italian lands of Ravenna, the Marches, Ancona, and the Duchy of Spoleto, as well as the League of Tuscan cities recognised him as sovereign. All these annexations consolidated his papal power and were a sign of Innocent's character and of his vision of the Church, an entity that goes beyond the spiritual and that exercises a material power over its faithful. The Fourth Lateran Council. At the end of his days, the Pope summoned the high authorities of the Catholic Church to discuss issues of religious discipline, as well as doctrinal issues. These meetings were attended by the main leaders of the Church, with the aim of strengthening the power of the Church. In addition, important issues for Christianity were settled at this council. One of them corresponded to a Fifth Crusade, which sought to fight the Muslim invader and expel him from Jerusalem. This crusade went ahead despite the death of Innocent in 1216, thanks to his successor, Honorius III. This crusade, although it was able to reach Egypt and confront the Muslims, ended in a narrow defeat for the Christian forces. On the other hand, Innocent used the council as a means to spread his broad support for the mendicant religious orders, such as the Franciscan and Dominican orders. These orders were not only supported by the Pope, but he considered them an important part of the Church's policies to expand Christianity. The fall of a Pope. Shortly after the Lateran Council, the Pope went to northern Italy, where there were disputes between the papacy and the Italian cities of Genoa and Pisa. Shortly after resolving the situation, death met him naturally. Thus, Pope Innocent III died at the age of 55. I hope you liked this video, where we wanted to tell the story of a very important Pope for the Church, and a man who left his mark on an era. I encourage you to leave in the comments the name of another of the popes that have been in history to make a video about him. Don't close the video yet. Before you go, please subscribe and leave us a like if you like the content. It will help us to grow and continue making much more content. Now, without further ado, we say goodbye.